Hello, welcome to Alex Financial Insight Show. In today's video, we're gonna present comparative analysis of stock price for companies in the semiconductor industry, focusing on NVDA, AMD, Qualcomm, and Intel. So the purpose of the analysis is basically to look at the pattern of the stock price changes for semiconductor companies, namely Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, and Qualcomm, and these are rival companies in the industry. So this analysis is useful to identify which stock is undervalued or which one is overvalued, and it also helps us to understand relative performance of these rival companies in the semiconductor industry, and it also helps us to compare stock volatility for each company relative to the other. What method do we use? We just focus on a descriptive analysis, and basically what we do is we're gonna do a trend analysis on the level of the stock prices, a trend analysis for the standardized stock prices, and we compute growth rate for each stock and conduct a trend analysis. Standardization has multiple benefits, as you may aware of. First, it normalizes the volatility of the stock price or growth of the stock price. It helps to see how much return is achieved per unit of risk, and also it helps to compare standardized values regardless of price levels, and that is why I say that we're gonna also deal with standardized data. Okay, first let us see now trend of quarterly stock price at level. So look at the graph, and the dark blue graph is for Intel stock price, and the orange line is for AMD's stock price. The green line is for NVIDIA stock price, while the light blue is for Qualcomm stock price. As you can see, Qualcomm is at the top and followed by NVIDIA, and then AMD and Intel is at the bottom. So what is the characteristic feature of all of these four companies is that the stock price for all of them had been increasing until, say, Q4 of 2021. And then after it declined until, say, Q4 of 2022, it seems like it bottomed around that area and then it started rising. Obviously, it's this time period between Q4 of 2021 and Q4 of 2022, which is a 1 year period, and that is like mostly a COVID time, where the COVID impact was there. And see, what you can see is importantly after Q4 of 2022, each stock price started rising. However, starting at Q4 of 2023, there is a divergence between the prices for each stock. See the gap between Qualcomm stock and, say, NVIDIA, between NVIDIA and AMD, and between AMD and Intel. Basically, this shows the dynamics of what was happening to the AI market in 2024. Okay, that is what this reflects. So now let's move on and see the standardized stock price. The standardized stock price, it pretty much has the same pattern, and the only thing we see here is like the data is smooth. There is not that much up and down, okay, for each graph. Okay, it's pretty much the same. It's the same pattern. Qualcomm coming at the top, followed by NVIDIA, and then AMD. And as you can see clearly, AMD and Intel kind of sharp declining in 2024, starting from Q1, and the gap between Qualcomm and NVIDIA is also kind of wider. Okay, it's kind of like both NVIDIA and Qualcomm show some sort of parabola shape in 2024. So now let's move on and see the stock price grows. Okay, let's see whether the stock price grows show what we have seen in the previous uh, trend. We saw like Qualcomm is at the top, followed by NVIDIA, and then AMD, and then Intel is at the bottom. Do we see that same pattern if we now see the trend of stock price growth? And this graph shows that. As you can see from this graph now, that pattern appears to change it. Say, if you see before Q1 of 2022, Qualcomm is at the top. Is a best performer, has a good growth, followed by NVIDIA, and then AMD, and Intel is at the bottom. Now, if you focus on 2022 entirely, fiscal year 2022, the only company performing better is Intel, and followed by AMD, and then NVIDIA, and Qualcomm performed, the worst, during that COVID time period, basically. Okay, now, if you move and see what happened after Q4 of 2022, NVIDIA took over Qualcomm. Okay, started taking over Qualcomm continuously until like a fourth quarter of 2023, where Qualcomm is at the top, growth wise, and then you see at the third quarter of 2024, NVIDIA again took over all of them, basically, Qualcomm as well. Okay, so now if we standardize this, do we see a different picture? If we standardize like the growth of the stock price, do we see a different picture? Next graph is about that. And this is a graph for like standardized stock price, and pretty much it has like the same picture as the previous one. Okay, no much difference, with until some point Qualcomm leading, and then NVIDIA took over, and somehow like a part of 2024, Qualcomm is leading NVIDIA in terms of growth now, but again NVIDIA took over. That's what this one shows. So the trends may not be that clear. Clearly, they don't show which one is the leader. And now let us see a summary table. And this summary table presents the average of the standardized stock growth, and the growth of the stock price itself, and the growth of the standardized stock, and the standard deviation for each stock. And let us see what inference we can make based on the graph. Let's see the second row. The second row presents the growth rate, okay, in percent for the four companies. Now look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA's growth rate over the 5 period under consideration is 18.48%. And AMD's growth is 9.75%, while Qualcomm is 6.31%, and Intel recorded actually a negative growth rate of 2.39%. So comparing NVIDIA and AMD, almost NVIDIA's growth rate is twice that of AMD, and it is triple of that of Qualcomm. Okay? And then now, let us see now what does the growth of standardized stock price shows us. It basically confirms what we see above. NVIDIA's standardized stock price is 0.82. AMD's is 0.49, while Qualcomm's is 0.39, and Intel's is negative 0.15. Okay, so this row, the row growth of standardized stock price, tells us that it tells us the return per unit of risk. Okay, the return per unit of risk. See, return per unit of risk for NVIDIA is almost double of that of AMD, and pretty much almost triple of that of Qualcomm, again, confirming the above. And then the other one is the standard deviation. See the standard deviation. NVIDIA's standard deviation is the highest, followed by AMD, and Qualcomm is the third, and Intel is the least. Okay? So what do we see from, or what can we say looking at the table and the graphs? It says that NVIDIA has the highest volatility based on the standard deviations. That is what we can infer. And suggesting high risk but high reward. Okay, the average growth for NVIDIA is 18.48%. And the standardized growth also confirmed that same thing. AMD has a moderate volatility, balancing growth potential with less risk. The average growth rate for AMD was 9.75%. Qualcomm has a lower volatility, indicating a safer investment here, and the average growth is about 6.31%. And Intel has a lower performance with an average growth of negative 2.39%. So what do we conclude? We conclude that growth-oriented investors looking for high risk should go for NVIDIA, and this is due to surge in AI and the data-driven technologies that has been observed and where NVIDIA is specialized. And AMD has steady growth with moderate volatility, and it is suitable for balanced investors, those who seek growth without excessive risk. And Qualcomm appears to be maturing now, and it offers stable and moderate growth. And Intel is declining. It is declining, trade indicators its challenges. And basically, Intel may suit for value investors who are betting on turnaround strategy. And basically, if you are interested, last week I conducted an in-depth analysis to show why we have to invest in Excel for long term. Okay, and you can look at that video in detail if you are interested in detail. The other thing is the next video that will come out probably around next week will focus on these same four companies. It will conduct a comparative analysis, and it basically focuses on predicting the score price for these four companies in short term or and also in a long term. And thank you for watching, and if you are interested, please subscribe.